This is MJ. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an analyzer. Find all my work at mjmunoz.com. Welcome to Swinging Through Comics. Visit mjmunoz.com/stc for notes and links, and don't forget to subscribe. Like, share, and comment to help me grow. This is a special episode of Swinging Through Comics that is actually devoted, it's going off the beaten path, and it's actually devoted a little bit, devoted in full to the memory of Shotaro Ishinomori and the works of Shotaro Ishinomori. You may not know the name Shotaro Ishinomori, but if you've ever watched Power Rangers, you know the work of Shotaro Ishinomori. He was the original creator of Go Ranger, which launched the Super Sentai series, which got turned into Power Rangers, which, well, there's a lot more than that, but before Power Rangers, there was Kamen Rider. Before Kamen Rider, there was Skullman. Before Skullman, there was Cyborg 009, and Ishinomori was a really cool dude. He was a student of Osamu Tezuka. He worked for him. I say student loosely. He worked for him, and anyway, super cool. Lots of great work that he's done. He holds the Guinness World Book of Records record for being the most mangaka-iest mangaka ever. So it means he wrote or penned or drew whatever more pages of manga than any single person in the history of the world so far. Although, I mean, the One Piece guy, isn't he coming up? That's pretty long. I know it's a single series, it's super long, but I guess Ishinomori did have a 44-year career. Anyway, towards the end of his career in 92, I think it was 92, he was contacted by none other than Nintendo to write a comic book version of The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, which would appear serialized in their Nintendo Power magazine. I think that's what it was called in both Japan and the United States, but I don't know for sure. Anyway, or maybe it was only US. I'm not sure. Anyway, so he did this, and I got it a few years back. I walked into my comic shop, and I saw the cover for this thing, and I'd heard about it somewhere, probably from like Ega Devil or somebody, but anyway, I'd heard about it, and I had to get it. So anyway, I have a quick review because I don't think there's a lot to say. It's hard to talk about this thing as an objective person because I'm not really objective when it comes to Ishinomori's works, because I have an affinity for them. And that doesn't mean I won't be critical, though, because there's some stuff to criticize. I hope I captured that. So overall, I liked it. I like the story. I like what happened in it. Let me just give you a little overview. Let me just give you an overview. So I selected a few images that I thought were really cool, just like things that really defined the book for me. The cover, I think, is very pretty. It's taken from a panel at the end of the book, and it's just reworked to have the text overlaid on it and stuff. And I'm sure it didn't have a cover originally because it was serialized in the magazine, right? Anyway, but the cover is very pretty. It was funny. I've been wanting to do this video for a little while, but a Cartoonist Kayfabe video came up, and they talked about it, and they just talked about all the techniques. So these guys were praising it and gushing over it. And they know cartooning and comicking better than I do, so I'm not going to say too much about the art other than I like it and I think it's pretty. But they were talking about how it was obvious that he used different media, and if you look through the book carefully, if you have the book in hand, it's a real treat to look at. It is beautiful artwork, and it's very compelling. I'm going to go ahead and actually, while I have these lovely images up that I clipped together, and I'll talk about them in a minute, I will say my overall criticism is that the pacing is off. Like, it gets to the point where when you're in a chapter, two things happen. Something concludes from the previous chapter, and then it pivots and it continues to kind of set up the next chapter, and it almost always feels like it's probably the first 2 or 3 chapters are better formatted as far as pacing is concerned, but the rest of them are structured just in a way where it feels like they're just staggered to keep you reading along, and it almost feels artificial in how it's keeping you going. But I've read this thing probably like 5 times, maybe 6 times, since I got it a couple of years back, and I still enjoy it. I really like it. It's just, it feels funny as I'm going through. I think, like, man, that sure happened suddenly, but maybe that matches the pace of the game. And I even went ahead and did some research. I looked at some overviews and reviews of the, like, retrospectives of the game, and it sounds like the plot's basically the same. The lore of it, I don't know if that was all just pulled from the game or what, sounds a little more extensive than what we were given here. But I feel like what we were given here, as in terms of story, was enough to keep it moving quickly. And I think I remember hearing or reading something about the fact that they wanted they wanted you to be able to read this comic and still be hyped for the game and not have it spoil everything. And it definitely doesn't spoil everything, so that's a good thing. And the same thing, if you played the game, then you could read the comic and say, hey, this thing's really cool, and it's a different take, and oh, I didn't, who's Rome, and that's a cool inclusion, a cool new character, that kind of stuff. So that's all positive. But I really liked, like, there was a lot of pathos in this story, and that was cool, but there was also just like these really awesome creature designs. And I know the game itself, has cool creatures like the Laminoa and different things like that are neat. The three-headed dragon, he does appear in the game. I don't know the name of it, but it doesn't matter to me. But I mean, besides the creature designs being really cool, which they are, like there's this giant spider that Link has to fight. One of the pendants of courage or whatever is inside of it. That thing was just super cool. It's raining while they're fighting. It's all atmospheric. Or is it raining or is it jumping down? I can't remember. Those might just be speed lines. But anyway, it was a really cool fight scene. But these fight scenes were like brutally quick, almost to the point where like I was enjoying them, and then it's like, oh, it's already over. That kind of stinks. But what are you supposed to do? I guess. So there's some slight criticism. But then again, you have stuff like when he's attacked in the swamp by that eye thing and that witch. Like that was all really cool. The eye thing looks really awesome. Link being tied up there and whatever. Super fun. So I mean, I enjoyed aspects of it, even where there was things that I didn't like so much, or things that weren't so great. I enjoy Ishinomori's style of Link. He's pretty simple. It's a simply drawn character, but he's in like a beautifully illustrated world. Like the structures and like he has very cartoony characters is what I guess I'm getting at. And I typically don't like that, but I appreciate it in his work because of what he does with his cartoony figures. They don't just stand there blankly. So it's pretty neat. And like the way he draws the Master Sword, it's pretty cool. I mean, it's a cool design anyway, but I like it. And then, like I said, there's like some pathos. Towards the end of the story, or at the very end of the story, there's this thing where like Link and Zelda, she's Queen Zelda now, and Link is this, head of the Knights of Hyrule or whatever, and there's like a feeling of forlornness and like sadness because like they had a deeper relationship sort of while they were telepathically linked and stuff, and then now that that's over because the thread has been neutralized, that connection is broken, and like it feels like there's this unrequited love and like this thing that can never be because Link has to guard the Triforce or be this Knight of Hyrule or whatever, and they just like cannot be close to each other anymore, and that's pretty neat. I liked it a lot, especially because it could have been a lot simpler of a story there. But let me not get too sidetracked. I guess I don't know if I just want to go through. I'll just kind of go through a little bit more. So I liked there was a lot of vistas used. I wonder if this was like I honestly did have a little bit of trouble in some instances reading the flow of the words of the actions, but it didn't happen as much this time. I was a little more cognizant to think like, oh, this is manga. I should be going, and so, well, it's manga, but it's flipped. So I'm going left to right instead of right to left. And I was thinking, is it right, left, or up, down? I don't 100% remember which way it went. I got turned around a couple times, but it was never too bad. So that was good. There's a lot of personality. Unfortunately, a lot of the charming stuff that happens in here is probably a result of things that are Legend of Zelda specifically and not specific to Ishinomori. But I sure liked his interpretation of a lot of the stuff, a lot of the world. And it's funny, I was mentioning how cartoony Link is, but I think it's the Laminoa. It looks super cool. It looks super creepy. It almost reminds me of in Nazca Valley of the Wind, those giant insect creatures that they deal with in there. So very cool design. Lots of good stuff there. Let me see. Oh, one of my favorite aspects too, and apparently this is in the lore of the game as well, that something about the Dark World or the Sacred Land or the Golden World, whatever, that has been corrupted by Ganondorf. It turns people into beasts. Like it reflects the place reflects what's in people's hearts. So it can turn them evil, and it can turn them not evil. Well, it can turn them evil, but it can lock them into these beast forms. And it's interesting. There's this whole subplot with this character Rome, who very much looks like one of the guys from Cyborg 009. I think it's 5, but I don't remember. He's the one who flies. Anyway, there's this subplot where he is a descendant of Knights of Hyrule, as is Link, and this guy believes that he is going to be the legendary hero. Link doesn't even know about the legendary hero in the beginning of the story, and this guy wants to be that legendary hero. He has pretensions to it. He wants to have the Master Sword, even though he thinks he can defeat it by being an archer, because his family were archers. But you see later that he has a crossbow. But like his design's really cool. Him fighting with Link is really cool. The conflict between them is neat. And the guy's almost an anti-hero, but you know, he ends up being a hero, and he ends up working with Link. And this is a thing original to the comic, but it's pretty neat because it draws a contrast between Link and Ganondorf, or Link and Rome specifically, and shows that Link, while he does struggle with the darkness of his emotions, like he's very pained over the death of his uncle in the beginning of the movie, or of the book, sorry. He's very pained by the death of his uncle. He wants to take out Ganondorf and protect Zelda, but that's tainted by the darkness and the pain and the kind of quest for vengeance that he wants as well. And Rome, I think, very brings it to life and brings that into sharp contrast, because he, like for the honor of his people and the honor of his family and his lineage, wants to be the knight to destroy Ganondorf. So it's actually kind of interesting. Link has more of a personal stake in things, except for his connection to Zelda, and he wants to save her because of that, but also for vengeance. And Rome, and he doesn't know anything about Ganondorf, the legends, or any of that stuff, whereas Rome knows about that stuff, but he has no personal connection to Zelda. He has no personal connection to Ganondorf other than he's evil and he wants to see him destroyed. And they're kind of on opposite paths, and they kind of intersect and you know, deflect from each other and like cause an impact on each other throughout their story. We don't see too much of that on Rome, but it's more so with Link, that Rome's a foil to Link, and it's just interesting the way Ishinomori planned that out, to have them start off in these opposite sort of conditions or whatever, then come together, and then that affects both of them as characters. You know, mostly Link though, because he's our protagonist. So that was pretty cool. I just love the design of this guy and how we get to see him transform into like we get a henshin basically. As he's reaching for the sword, his hand turns you know, into a bird claw talon thing, and then he's Birdman, and then he's flying at Link, and just the action of that and the motion of that is so good, so crisp, so Ishinomori. I like my first game was Twilight Princess, so you know, Link turning into the wolf. I really loved how Link was turning into, I think he was turning into a wolf man, and I almost wondered, or I wanted to know, but I'm not plugged into any Zelda people, and after I read this, I kind of tried to research, but I couldn't find anything. I almost feel like Twilight Princess, he gets turned into, you know, Wolf Link because of maybe something in here. And I don't know if maybe he was turning into a wolf in the original game. The retrospectives and stuff I tried to check out on that weren't really clear. They didn't specify like, oh yeah, he almost turned into a wolf, like Ganondorf turned into a, you know, boar or pig or whatever. So I don't know, that was interesting. But I love the shot where he's like full beast mode as he has entered, I think this is as he gets dropped into yeah, I'm pretty sure this is when he gets dropped into the dark world. And I love that, you know, Ishinomori's skull moon behind him and him turning into a wolf, and it's just this, you know, like horror scene, and it's, you know, really cool. And then the effect, seeing him, you know, furry and whatever with his, you know, his ears are already pointy, but they feel a little more wolfish with the hair and whatnot, and then he gets turned back to normal. That's pretty cool. And then I think, oh yeah, the original scene where he starts, where I got the idea that it was, you know, a wolf that he was turning into, is this one where he interacts with something. Oh, it must be like a weak spot between the dark world and you know, Hyrule or the light worlds, whatever. Anyway, he touches it, and the negativity that he's carrying with him hurts him, and it, you know, causes him to be, you know, injured, but also kind of turn into, his arm turned into a wolf arm. And I really like, I mean, I love the storytelling on the left page here, where it's his mother's hand, he sees it, he reaches for it, as he's touching it, you get to see like from the other side, inside that column of light or whatever, his hand is bright white. The rest of him is darkened. It's mostly just him in silhouette with these red and yellow striations to show that that like soft, warm, inviting light has turned into something like painful and hurtful. And even you could see his left hand holding his sword is outside of that column of light. So it's like it communicates really well what's happening, and I like how it twists the blue light into this red yellow harsh light that's hurting him and causing pain. And I just love that contrast. And I don't know if it's supposed to be his mouth that's open and he's screaming no. Oh, it probably is. Like his head's cocked back in pain. Is it his nose? I thought it was his eye originally. Like one eye's covered, the other eye is bright white with pain, which is what it could be, or it could be a mouth. But either way, it works for me. And then the next panel, he's thrown back, and then he sees what's happened to him, and I really like that. It feels very like spiritual, and like it has a moral about not holding on to darkness and hate and things like that, even though it's just an adventure of a video game turned into a comic book or whatever. And I really like that. So in summation, good art and some good storytelling decisions, I think, that were solely Ishinomori's, elevated this from like a standard so-so adaptation to something really cool that I could really enjoy. And like, oh my gosh, I love this alternate Zelda. I think she's had looks like this before in other stuff, but like, that is awesome. I mean, she just looks fantastic. And then Link's night costume, you can see more of it here. I'll have this posted on mgwinners.com, so you could look at the audio only, like the show notes page, on STC, or mgwinners.com/STC 56 is where you'll find it. Or it's episode 56, so look there. But like, it just looks so cool. And then I read a little bit more in the lore, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I wonder if these old guys are like the 7 sages or whatever, because they talk about the 7 maidens, the 7 sages. And anyway, there's deeper lore that Ishinomori doesn't quite touch on here, but just, I love the look of everybody. And like, Link gets some alternate outfits. Like, look how cool this guy is. Look how cool Link is. So awesome. I love that. Anyway, but he gets some alternate outfits. Sorry, let me try to find one. There's just so much good stuff in this. Like he gets this, it's like a snowsuit, but it like feels like a barbarian almost, and I really like it. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, there's that 3-headed dragon I talked about. It looks super cool here, and it goes on for a couple pages in this. But like, look at this eye monster that attacks him. It starts off with this witch, then there's these little eyes popping up, and then there's more of them, and then, oh my goodness, there's a whole mountain of them, and that's all really nicely done. There he fights. There's just a lot of cool monsters. Another thing I really liked was Ishinomori's establishing shots. Like, I don't remember what this ruin is or this castle is or whatever, but just like, boom, back in the background, heavy, it's blacked out, you just get it in silhouette, and Link is daunted by the fact that he has to go there. There's a couple other ones that were really good establishing shots, or like dramatic shots, just like using the scenery and stuff. So while the guy makes cartoony, cartoon people, and then cool creatures or whatever, like Ganondorf here, or like the Laminola, if I'm saying that right, he also does really these great establishing shot type things in the comics as well, or in his work. I guess they don't have another great one, but then again, like, look at that majestic master sword he's got going, and then Link grabbing it. Like, you see this progression as he's reaching out to it, he has it, it's charging with power, and then he's ready to go. Like, it's just super dramatic, super cool, super fun. So that's all I have to say about this. This is all part of my salute to Shotaro Ishinomori. You'll find it, if you go to mgwinners.com, I'll be posting all my stuff with the hashtag Celebrate Ishinomori. And this is something I've been wanting to do for like a few years actually, but just I finally got the gumption to do it, and I'm planning it. I'm calling for other people to get in on the action. I'm actually going to be doing stuff from the 25th to the 29th. You can find it all on mgwinners.com, because it'll be kind of scattered around my typical places where I post stuff. And I've got this for Swinging Through Comics. I have one other Ishinomori comic I might want to review. It's an old manga of his, and I may or may not do it. Not the entire thing, like a chapter of it, because it's pretty long, and it has some connections to something else I really like and I've talked about before. But anyway, like I said, you can go to mgwinners.com and find all my Celebrate Ishinomori stuff, January 25th through 29th. I'll have at least 5 things up, maybe more. We'll see what happens, but for sure I wanted to get this done, and I thought Swinging Through Comics was a perfect place to do that. And if you're not familiar with Ishinomori's works, you should be. He's a great manga artist, and then he helped create a bunch of live action TV shows, including Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, which became Power Rangers, also Android Kikaider, as well as Cyborg 009. There's a Kikaider show, but there's no 009, but there's a lot of other cool stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of there, but I encourage you to check all that stuff out. Check out mgmunoz.com to find all my work, and that's pretty much it.